Sorry,
Talk
guys.
about the names.
As a lot of people know, our name used to be Carrick Wines. And Carrick is named after our township, and it's one of the southernmost townships in Bruce County. Carrick is very close to our hearts, and we're very proud of it. And we use that name for the first 2 years. We've been in business now about 5 years. What happened is, one Sunday morning, we were contacted by this other winery, and they basically got a hold of us and said, "Hey, what are you suckers doing using our name?" And we start checking into it, and we find out, sure as heck, these guys had the exact same name as us, and they were from New Zealand. Carrick Wines Inc. Spelt exact same as us right through. The problem is they were selling some of their wines into Canada and into Ontario, into LCBO. And that's where the fluffle started. You see, you can have two companies with the same name, and it's great as long as you stay apart. But as soon as one crosses into the other's territory, that's when you can get into a little trouble. And so here it was, Sunday morning, I find out that we're in trouble with our business name, Carrick Wines. Monday morning, I find out we might have a little trouble with the name of our number one product, called Gravel Run Cider. So you can imagine the problem, or the stress I was under. So after about 2 weeks of pouting and crying and dragging my lip on the ground and every other darn thing going, finally I snapped out of it and said, the heck with it, let's just change our name. And so what we ended up doing is, when we changed our name to Hoity Toity Cellars. And the reason we chose that name is in typical Canadian fashion, we use it as a platform to make fun of ourselves. So it's sort of like the old Wayne and Schuster humor years ago. And we Canadians are good. We're okay with making fun of ourselves. We actually enjoy it and partake in it from there. Maybe not so everywhere in the world, but we're pretty good with it. Well, what we're doing with the name Hoity Toity is the exact same. You see, the wine industry in general throughout the world tends to be a little bit, or tends to sometimes come across as a little bit pretentious or a little bit hoity-toity. And it does this in many ways and many levels all the way through. So a lot of times, maybe when you go on some wine tours and the person taking you around on a wine tour, and they start talking to you in big round pear-shaped tones, and they start mentioning words like terroir and stuff like this. But it also happens right down to the restaurant level. When you go into a restaurant nowadays, and maybe you're going out, a couple heading out at night, and the server brings you the wine list, there's not 4 or 5 choices of wine on there anymore. There's like 40, there's 50, the whole back sheet is wine. And there's not just 2 Pinot Noirs, there's 6 Pinot Noirs. So a lot of times what people will do is they'll end up defaulting to house red or house white. They sound safe, they sound common, they sound like, a bunch of other people must drink that, so it's got to be a good bet from there. So what we do in typical Canadian fashion is we use that platform, Hoity Toity Cellars, as something to market off of. All of our wines are named around that theme. So for instance, our number one red wine is called Kicked Out of the Country Club. And people look at it and they laugh, and a smile comes to their face and this and that. And I say, no guys, this isn't just some made up name. We actually have experience with this. Like, who's kidding who here? This is Carrick Township, okay? And a white wine, we have another one called Dusty White Glove, and then Frosty Fake Pearls, and then another one called Maid's Night Off, and all the way down the line. So all of our wines are based around that humor, and they all have a story attached to them that makes it kind of fun and entertaining. However, when we got to our ciders, naming our ciders, the well was running dry. And finally I just said, guys, forget it. How about we just pick with our ciders? We started naming them after our truck. So the old cider that was called Gravel Run Cider, which was our number one selling product and still is, it's now become 66 Pickup. And they say, where'd you get that name? I says, it's what I drive. I drive a 66. So all of our ciders are based around a little different theme, humor, maybe the truck and things along that line, where our wines are based more along the hoity-toity. Now, when people come to the farm and I say, look, the wine industry tends to, remember I said a minute ago, the wine industry tends to promote itself, or tends to get a little full of itself, or tends to take itself pretty serious. And what we say to people is, look, we're farmers, okay? We take our products extremely serious. We take our products very, very serious. But we also say, let's not take ourselves too serious, okay? We're just common people. We love to make great products. We want people to enjoy it. And people come out here and I say, look, the only thing hoity-toity around here is our swans. And they're named Hoity and Toity. That's exactly what this. But that's all you'll find around here, Hoity and Toity. We're just common people at that point.